All right, folks, what's going on? Who do we got here? We got Jason Rad. What's happening? Jeff Hahn. We got 36 Studebaker, Jersey. How you doing, buddy? Alaska Andy. John, good to see you. Mike, good to see you. Let's see. Gonna see if I can listen to a podcast and do Mantis training at the same time. That is definitely a skill set right there, Mike. Hey, good job to everybody that has been participating in the Mantis Challenge. We've been doing that over primarily on Patreon. I did post it a couple times on Facebook and YouTube. I didn't get a lot of we're getting a lot of interaction there, so I just kept it with our folks over on Patreon. So for those of you doing that, good. And Mike, you've been motivating me. Been getting some pretty good scorers there. That's been good. And Mike and a couple of you guys, man, I literally have been in bed some nights and I see you guys post. I'm like, crap, get up and go downstairs and do my 100 reps. Mike Gibson, good to see you. What else we got here? Jason Sponsor, good to see you. Anybody else, as you're tuning in, go ahead and say hello so we can recognize you. Tell us if this is your first time showing up. We want to make sure that we say hi to you. So we appreciate everybody showing up. We got a big show tonight. We're gonna be talking about home defense, but we'll get knee deep into that in just a few minutes. Richie Futrell, good to see you, man. Wouldn't be a Dangerous Liberty without you. Well, folks, welcome to the Dangerous Liberty podcast, where everybody knows that the only thing more dangerous than liberty is the lack thereof. Where we're talking about guns, gear, training, politics. We have special guests on. We do lots of cool things, and we just have a good time. Don't take it too seriously. Speaking of special guests, I want to introduce my good friend, Chris. Chris, introduce yourself to everybody. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
I'm Chris, born and raised West Virginia, here in the Eastern Panhandle. All of my uncles have been contractors my whole life, been interested in guns my whole life, so I am nowhere near as versed as you or your buddy Jay is, but so I kind of be the resident dumb butt, as you say, and ask the questions a lot of people are going to ask out there. I know a little bit, but nowhere like you guys.
No, man. No, we're glad to have you, and you guys will like Chris. He's good people.
We'll see what happens.
So the first thing we're going to do tonight, we're going to play a quick video. This is, you guys can make fun of me, but this was one of a few different videos that I shot for a TV show that we were on this past summer covering, and this particular video is what was my high school campy horror movie version of a home defense situation. So Jay, if you will play that, and hopefully the sound goes through and all that other good stuff. We're going to share the screen, play that, and then we're going to talk about home defense in general and go into some stats, and then we'll get heavy into what makes sense from a home defense. That is not what we do. There we go. I don't know if we're yep, you are. Hit play. Pause it real quick, Jason, and minimize it. I want to see if I don't know if people are, yep, stop sharing. And just hit stop sharing. Stop screen down there. Are you guys able to hear that? I just want to make sure that you guys can actually hear. Were you guys able to hear the video? I know there's a short delay. All right. Because Jason didn't share the screen. Hey, Jay, go down here go over to share the screen. Presents. All right, hit share screen. No, just hit entire screen.
Yeah.
And then allow. Okay. No, never mind. They're not playing. All right, look, you guys, go to our Rumble. I posted it to Rumble. I couldn't post it to Facebook. When you guys get a chance, it really doesn't matter. But it does talk about home defense in general. Just stop sharing the screen. Okay. Anyways, watch that when you get a chance. And it talks about basically some of the big points of home defense in general, making sure that you have a plan, making sure that everyone in the house is kind of speaking the same language, making sure that you have some training so that you know what to do and how to. And one of the big things that I hear a lot about, folks, the last thing that you ever want to do is go clearing a house, right? You don't want to go searching for a threat. That is possibly the worst thing you do. Now, there are times, obviously, that if you hear a bump in the night, and of course you got kids on a different level or a different room or something like that, there's definitely some times when you may have to go essentially clear that structure to get to it. So
my wife made me clear out an entire house for a laundry basket falling. Does that count as a bump in the night?
That's a good story too, Jay.
So we got Jay back there producing tonight. Just so the voice is not ventriloquism being done by either myself or Chris. Jay's back there running the computer. So when you hear that voice come through, it's definitely Jason. And we'll talk
any
about
sound effects. That's Jay's fingers.
or any sound effects.
I found the sound effects button, folks. I just want to let you know tonight's going to be a party.
And he's a 3-year-old, so
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about some stats. Why is home invasion important? Why is home invasion important? Why is being prepared for
very
home
important.
invasion?
How do you
important?
get paid?
How do you make that bank?
There you go.
You ain't gonna make no bank without some home invasion. Let's talk about some home invasion and burglary stats. Basically, you get about an estimated 3.7 million household burglaries occur each year. Households composed of single families and children have the highest rate of burglary while someone was present. Homes without a security system are 300% more likely to be broken into and
My favorite security system.
burglarized. Now, that particular stat was the source from alarms.com, so they may have a little bit of a
I want to say that sign,
yeah,
You know
that
what I mean. The sticker.
they want to say that sign,
Mhm.
and there's a conflict of interest there, but I don't doubt that that's true. 46.9% of people don't have a home security system installed in their home. 83% of would-be burglars check for the presence of an alarm system before attempting to break in. 34% of burglars use the front door when breaking into the home.
That one was interesting to me. when
That's
you were
Bureau
going
of
over that.
Justice. Yeah.
I mean, you just think you don't really think the front door, but usually that's the typical spot. I mean, not all burglars are smart, so they're just going to go right to that front door. Then, the way you explained it to me, you have those apartment buildings and stuff like that. That's the only place they got when you're 3-4 stories up.
100%.
I don't know. Some people like the back door more. Would you agree?
I mean, personal preference.
Police only solved 13% of reported burglary cases presented by the Pew Research Center. 25% of burglaries take place during the day. So,
Quarter.
Jeff, no, Jason is not drinking whiskey or smoking a cigar. Yeah, we got to get the old producer back. We're working on that iron stomach. All right. Jersey already had a kind of prevention is paramount, right? So when we're talking about this, we do need to consider prevention, right? So one of the things when we're doing vulnerability assessments, whether we're doing it for schools, churches, all the different things that we do, one of the acronyms we follow is MDDR, and that's mitigate, deter, detect, and react, right? So mitigation, what we're talking about, the thing that we need to realize, folks, is that anyone that is targeting you has identified two things. Number one, they've identified target value. So they see something that is worth the risk. And then number two, they've identified vulnerability. So those are the two things that need to exist so that they've identified the target, right? We got target value and vulnerability. We need to work on reducing both. And of course, you guys can throw up some different ways that we can reduce our target value. So not being a draw to someone to invade your house to begin with, not putting that big screen TV to where you can see it right out the window, some different things like that. Maybe not pulling up in your Ferrari, leaving your door open, leaving your garage open, all those different things. So reducing our target value and vulnerabilities is the key to not being targeted to begin with.
Don't leave the 80-inch screen TV box up by the trash either.
Don't leave, burn that thing, right? Yeah. Put it in your neighbor's
right. Put it across
trash.
the street. Don't set it out with yours.
Building
right.
a wall.
Put it in your neighbor's trash.
Yeah,
that's right.
Move that thing right over there.
Move it right over there.
Yeah. Risk down by 50%.
Your neighbors come over like, man, I was burglarized, and they left a note and said, "Where the hell's the TV?"
All I got it was a VCR.
The other thing we need to work on is deterrence, right? So we're talking about alarm systems, motion detectors, lights, cameras, things that are visible from the outside, fencing, some standoff areas, visibility, open areas where, again, they actually have to expose themselves Not like that way, Jay. They have to expose themselves to get. They have to put themselves at risk, right, before they even get there.
Do they have any statics?
Statics. I'm sure there's some statics.
Statisticians on second floor entries.
What's that?
Second floor entries. You got to figure. I wonder how many people have their alarm system set to their windows in their second floor.
Yeah, just ground floor windows
Just
and doors.
ground floor
Yeah.
windows and doors. Most of them, right?
Well, most burglars, quite frankly, are pretty lazy. But yes, I mean, you definitely should have, second floor motion detector, second floor window and opening, any sort of entryways whatsoever. There was some additional stats. If you guys go to, if you just look up burglary or home invasion stats, it was Department of Justice. If you go to the Department of Justice, they have a bunch, and they had some of those things where they talked about. There was a bunch of it, kind of random and not really, I thought, very relevant static. Now you got me saying statics.
Also, folks,
So-
if you didn't
so
know,
statistics.
statistics is fancy word for French fancy numbers. And now you know.
And now you know. All right, moving on. Security windows and doors, making sure that you actually have them locked, right? There was a pretty good stat. It was something like 18% of all burglaries, the person was able to walk through an open door or window.
I'm
What'd
looking
you
back to the tour on letter A up there.
Yeah.
Motion lights and cameras. There's a lot of companies out there now. Cameras aren't that expensive anymore.
Nope.
I didn't want to have a security system in my house. I got a relatively inexpensive camera off of Amazon that goes right to my phone. It has motion detection. You can tune the field of view of it to where it only picks up motion in a certain place, like a driveway or an entryway or something like that. And I'm talking 20 or 30 bucks, and it just plugs in and it hooks up to your Wi-Fi. They make ones even now for $30 that you could even pan from your phone and have like 180-degree field of vision. So
100%.
for cameras, I mean, there's no excuse. If you think you want one, just go to Amazon and get some. I mean, anywhere. And I'm saying Amazon because you can sit on your couch and order from there, but you can get that stuff. Same thing with the motion lights. They're super inexpensive with the LED technology out now with a motion sensor on it. There's no excuse. I mean, you should have at least one or two.
They're easy to install.
Absolutely.
Anybody can do it. Yep. We
And
got
even for those handyman challenged people like myself, they make wireless and battery powered ones. They actually last a long time.
Or you just call your friends.
Yep. Chad says, put a Biden sign in your neighbor's yard. Stop posting all your cool stuff on Facebook. That is a great example. Dogs make a great burglar alarm. There's no doubt about it.
You mean saying you're going away for a week from this date to this date on Facebook isn't a good idea, Gary?
No, I think that's a great idea.
It's fantastic.
And
I
it's
think.
tell them where you're going to.
Yeah, tell them where you're going, where you leave the extra spare key.
That's right.
Mhm.
Obviously under the fake rock,
Yeah, I mean, it's a given.
the frock, if you will.
Isn't that where everybody's is at?
I'm going to tell Jason that we are going to do this on Thursday. We're moving to the third. Oh, Jay, I forgot to tell you. We actually did it on Wednesday, but we're
yeah.
definitely doing it on Thursday next week.
I'm calling it right now, folks. Frock is gonna stick.
Write that down.
Oh my God. Another big thing is driveway and walkway sensors. So going from deterrence to detection. Feel free to add anything in mitigation or deterrence as we go along too, folks. Same thing with you.
Yeah.
Not you, Jason. On detection, giving you some sort of early warning, right? So, we want to have early warning and be aware of those threats. So the better that we can do that, the better off that we are. Again, a lot of this overlaps, even those alarm systems, obviously the cameras, all those things will allow you to detect those threats so that you, again, are alerted to it and we can start our reaction plan. Driveway, walkway sensors, trail cams, the trail cams have come a long way too. And you can actually use those in many different ways as far as a security system. Number one, they're motion activated. Even some of them have AI. I was seeing where it actually will determine if it's an animal or a human. So
And send the picture right to your phone.
and it sends your picture
Yeah.
right to your phone.
I mean, there's the more expensive ones, but I mean, that's
and they're sell a lot of them
Yep.
are now. You can get them and really cheap, like $10 a month, even with a cell plan.
Yep.
You know, limited data, depending on how many pictures and all that stuff you're going to be getting. But you know, making sure that you have those kind of concealed walkways and paths
Absolutely.
into your home. Even the other thing, folks, and we're not going to get into this tonight, but you know, if someone is targeting your home, whether you realize it or not, the way they've determined that target value and vulnerability is some sort of surveillance, right? So I am breaking all those rules, Richie. 100%. Come try to get in my house. Anyways,
Could you imagine walking into the house and all of a sudden there's a wall of guns? Oh no.
Wrong house.
there's also going to be a wall of bullets with brass
And
everywhere
a
else.
wall of man.
A wall of man. You're welcome, Summer. You're welcome.
I'm sure she would agree.
Yeah. So now we get into reaction, right? And this is where I think most of us are probably here tonight, and where the home defense kind of debate or the discussion kind of gets mired a little bit. But all that other stuff is actually more important than the reaction plan. If you are doing the mitigation, deterrence, and detection, chances are your reaction plan will never have to be used. You should have one in place. And again, if you watch that video, I actually show you guys what we have set up in our own home, what our kids are supposed to do if we have a possible threat in a house or the alarm goes off in the middle of the night. But watch that and take a look at that. But that's a whole nother thing. So when we talk about our defensive and reaction plan, obviously going back to what I said, folks, I won't say do not, just understand that if you're going and clearing rooms, you are at a major disadvantage to a threat. All right. They have all the advantage.
I think what a lot of people don't realize that if they're clearing the house with their weapon, what people don't realize is that there's a gun involved, and it's your gun, right? But the statistics, I don't know the
statistics.
Yeah, that fancy French word, right?
French word.
But a lot of people get disarmed in their own houses.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to realize that when you're on home defense, right, there's always going to be a gun involved if you have a gun in your house, right? So it's not smart to just go clearing if you don't understand what you're doing.
And so we'll get into a little bit of that, of how to prevent that, choosing the right weapons, choosing the right ammunition, all of those things. So just understand that if you are going searching for a threat through the house, you're at a major disadvantage. You are way behind the power curve. And if they have a weapon, you're probably going to get shot, which this goes back to, we're going to talk about medical supplies, medical training. All of those things are really important. They're just as important as the weapons and everything else that we're going to defend ourselves with. Number one, talking about weapons. Someone can go ahead and post up what everybody says the most useful home defense weapon is. Somebody feel free to hit that.
Shotgun.
Yeah. I completely disagree with the idea of a shotgun. I have a whole video on that. I need to redo that video. Look, folks, there's a reason why entry teams don't use shotguns. We use shotguns. All right. So when you have whether it's special operations or even some specialized law enforcement, they will have a guy with a shotgun, but we're not using that as an offensive weapon. That thing is for breaching. Can you use a shotgun? Absolutely. Is it a viable weapon? Absolutely. I'm not going to knock shotguns. I'm just saying, if we're planning this, we want to have the thing that gives us the best tactical advantage, and you should be choosing an AR, and we'll talk, or an SBR.
I think a lot of people choose shotgun just because they're
nice.
Right, because they're so familiar with it. More people grow up around a shotgun than they do any other type of weapon. So I mean, throughout the country. Right?
Yeah. Look, again, I'm not knocking
yeah.
shotguns. I'm just, and I've had this whole discussion many times on social media. What I do have a problem with, and I'll just say it now, I hate the term. I personally have a major problem with the term tactical shotgun. You know, I think tactical.
Gary,
I know
everything that's painted black is tactical.
It's tactical.
If it has,
Yeah.
all you got to do is put some Velcro on it,
And it's got rails.
some fast
it's
X.
got rails.
It's tactical.
Get your green laser off of Amazon.
100%.
Ready to
100%.
rock.
Plus, if it says tactical,
It's got to be
it's a
tactical.
premium price.
You're
That's
right. Especially
true.
if it's OD.
These are all things. These are all things I did not take into consideration. You guys have opened my eyes. I feel like a blind man that sees now. And we'll get to handgun in just a second too. I'm not a big fan of handguns
And
either.
see, coming from my end, where I'm not like you all, didn't have all this training, nothing like that, just the regular relaxed shooter.
Sure.
My initial thought right out the gate was pistol first,
Okay.
with a decent light on it.
Yeah.
Then went shotgun. I mean, for people like where I'm at, like again, not trained like you all. That's my two first go-tos. I'm not even thinking about an AR yet, so I'm anxious to hear why and how. And
No,
when and all after that.
those are all great points, Chris. So, what would be, just off the top of your head, like what's your hesitancy? What would be your initial thought and hesitancy to use an AR?
Oh, storage.
Okay, storage. All right.
Where to keep it all the time.
Fair enough.
I keep my 19X with me beside the bed, within arm's reach in the drawer. It's right
Sure.
there. I'm not going to be able to put an SBR or even a regular typical carbine length AR close. I would feel safe to have it there all the time.
Do you have a AR pistol with a pistol brace on it?
I do not.
Okay, that's a good answer. I know
Mhm.
ATF's listening.
I made a trip with Sleepy Creek and lost it. I mean,
So anyways, yeah, so one of the big things that come up with, and Jeff is bringing up another good point. Look, at the end of the day, use what weapon you got. And there are some
it's true too, yeah.
states where, number one, if you don't have an AR, there's nothing wrong with a shotgun. There's nothing wrong with a shotgun. Just
What's a
understand.
Sabur?
That's a SBR.
TBI Tank said, hide in your
Jason's the
pajama
only
pants.
18 Bravo I got to explain gun stuff to. It's weird.
I'm trying to get other people, right? We got the short-barreled rifle,
I know,
folks.
I
Yeah. But yeah, I don't have a place to put it. I know what I do. Just lean it in the corner. Then it's going to get there and get all dusty.
Well,
you know?
you said, is there any difference between storing a shotgun and an AR?
I guess not.
Yeah.
I guess I feel more comfortable that there's not as many moving parts in my mind.
It's not
Shotgun's gonna
in a
fire.
shotgun?
Yeah. Just thinking about it real quick.
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to pull that, pump at 870, and then shoot it.
Sure. So a couple things with that. Number one, a shotgun, especially a pump shotgun, is less reliable than an AR. Number two, essentially, let me ask you this. Would you, if I said, hey, Chris, here is a Colt model, whatever, a single action revolver, and I gave it to you, I said, this is the perfect self-defense weapon, what would you say?
All right.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm a
I mean-
cowboy,
I mean,
baby.
I know there's little to nothing to go wrong with that.
Okay, but again,
And they've
one
been around a
of
long
the
time.
one of the stats that I have on another document also talks about like something like 30% of all home invasions have multiple people invaders, right? So
yeah.
so when we think about a home invasion, most of the time we're imagining only one person. Well, folks, it's not just more. It's not usually just one person. So again, what I want is something that's going to give me the ultimate tactical advantage, or as much tactical advantage as I possibly can. I want to be able to engage multiple targets as quickly as possible. I want to make sure that I have a high capacity round count. I want to make sure that I have low recoil. I have a gun that's maneuverable. All of those things. So, and again, those are all the same reasons that we use an AR for any sort of room entry or mount operations or CQB operations, whatever it happens to be. So with that being said, again, with a shotgun, especially if we're talking about a pump action, number one, we're talking about a single action gun. So now we're talking about, again, nobody here would carry a revolver that every time that you fire, you got to work the hammer, right? I don't think that anyone would encourage that.
Cowboys do.
Even if we call it a tactical one and we put a red dot on said,
That's right.
Colt revolver, a single action revolver, it doesn't make it a tactical weapon.
45.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
Jackson, can you shut his mic off? So there's that. The other absolutely relevant argument that I hear a lot is penetration, right? Over penetration. That is, and again, that's one of those things that I have tested. Again, I got a video on that. I can show you that if you pick the right ammunition for an AR, it will over penetrate less than buckshot, less than slugs, and has much, or at least is equal to a terminal ballistic effects, right? We have extremely good terminal ballistics with some of the frangible rounds that are available for ARs. And
For those lay persons out there, terminal ballistic means what happens when you get shot.
yeah, so when the bullet makes impact with a target, that is the terminal ballistic.
Kaboom!
You don't have a
I don't have a
you
sound effect for that, so I had to demonstrate.
frangible ammo, absolutely. So frangible ammo makes really good indoor close quarter operations ammo when you're worried about over penetration. The other thing, you definitely, regardless of what gun that you're talking about, you have to make sure that you have sectors of fire laid out to where you know it's safe to shoot. Some people that's easier than others, depending on how many people you have in the home, how big your house is, whether or not you have, you're living in multifamily dwellings like townhouses or apartments or all those things.
Even development.
What's that?
Even in development.
Even in development, absolutely.
I mean, where we're out here where we live,
Yeah.
one goes through the wall.
I mean, I do, house pops all the time.
I
Just
mean,
a little celebratory fire. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
people living in developments, I mean, you got to keep that in mind. I mean, I know your family and
Sure.
yourself is number one, but you don't want that collateral either.
Yeah, and again, that makes making sure that you have ammo that is going to have good terminal ballistics and or not over penetrate that much more important, right? So those are all considerations. Also making sure there again, you are very tight with those sectors of fire where you're laying those ambush points and things like that. So all of those things are important. And QB1 brings up a good point.
Yeah,
Throw that
here
up
we
there.
go.
Yeah.
What's your take on air protection? Person, my hearing would be the last thing on my mind, but a lot of people seem to take this very considered. I think that it's going to be the last. Even people that preach that,
Yeah.
when shit hits the fan, they're not going to be wearing ear pro,
No way,
which
no.
is another good reason that so for instance, I'm not going to grab it because freaking YouTube will go nuts, but you can see back here, that is one of my home defense weapons, right? So we have basically, it is a pistol because it has a pistol brace, and I still have 110 days, something like that.
Days, yeah.
Before I have to SBR it or whatever else. We'll see what happens with that. But anyways, so we have that suppressed. We got a light on there with a pressure switch. I basically have a red dot for most of my ARs. I do have a low power variable optic, but for CQB specific, definitely a red dot or a holographic sight makes more sense. You are still, even with that, even with the best suppressor you can, if you're putting on an AR, folks, it's still not hearing safe.
Yeah, it's about crack.
But it's definitely going to preserve some of your hearing awareness, right? So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, your hearing's going to go. I mean, that'd be the last thing on your mind about hearing protection. I
Well,
wouldn't even bother
Another reason
trying to
too
put that on.
is suppressed guns are just fun to shoot.
Suppressed guns are much more fun to shoot.
So you get
So-
buy one and then you can use it as your home defense too.
Yeah.
Make sure you get the right caliber. I mean,
So throw up Jeff's comment.
your
This
reason?
comes up a lot, Jeff Hahn, all the way to the bottom,
down the bottom.
the bottom
There
one.
you go.
Boom.
Does unsuppressed weapon scare the intruder, or do you suppress it? I say you suppress it. So first of all, especially on most rifles that you're going to be using, and I don't care, unless you're using subsonic ammo, it's still super loud, especially
Yeah.
inside a structure. That is going to be, it's still going to super loud. You're still going to see some muzzle flash. I don't care how good the suppressor is, unless you're going with a subsonic ammo.
I don't think people really realize how much suppressors, how loud they really are.
Yeah.
Like, because they just watch the movies all the time.
Oh yeah, those are totally off. First time I
Yeah.
bought mine.
And some people's expectations of suppressors are way overhyped too, right? So yeah, I don't think it really matters. And at the end of the day, even with a suppressed gun, if you have multiple people in a suppressed gun, even with subsonic ammo, people are still going to hear what's going on in there.
Yeah, they're loud, especially indoors.
And at the end of the day, if you are, again, you're set up in a room at an ambush point, which is what you should be, with a light, and you know how to use that light effectively, and you can target identify, whether it's suppressed or not, it's really not going to matter, because if there's multiple intruders, they're either going to couple different things are going to happen. Either they're armed and they may come to see what's going on and or assist what they think their friends are shooting or they're getting shot at. Well, you need to be ready to handle those. So that could happen one way or the other. Going back to the shotgun, and there's actually some, I have a case study and another slide on another discussing home defense as well. You know, what I always hear people talk about shotgun is, oh man, I'm going to rack that shotgun and it's going to scare them just the sound. Well, now you're
Just
working.
shoot it in the air, Gary.
Well,
Obviously,
that's true.
I mean,
everyone runs.
Just go outside on the balcony and shoot it in the air.
That's right.
Now we're using sound as a tactic. Folks, if I'm a bad guy, I'm on the other side of a door and I hear a shotgun rack, I'm going to start putting rounds to that door as quickly as possible. So sure, there may be some cases where the sound of a racking shotgun has scared somebody off, but let's not rely on that. But what that does is it automatically puts you at a disadvantage. I'm not making any sound. The only sound that someone is going to hear if they come into my house is they're going to hear gunfire, and the bullet's probably going to get to put their lights out even before they hear that. So I don't want them to know where I'm at. I'm not giving them any sort of advantage, and I don't want them to hear my location so that they can start, because they don't care, right? They're going to shoot indiscriminately, whereas obviously we do. So don't. That's a terrible advice that I hear all the time. It's a terrible tactic to use. The sound of a racking of a shotgun is not a good self-defense tactic.
That's
period.
a media movie thing.
It's 100% a movie.
That's all it is.
You know, it's a movie thing, but man, I hear people that I've actually heard that from, I won't say people that I necessarily respect, but people that are well known in the self-defense industry, whether we're talking about, you know, YouTubers or other well-known gun bunnies that are out there on different social media and media platforms. So me personally, I think it's a bad idea. All it does is immediately put you at a disadvantage. It identifies your location, where you're at, and
And
again,
that you have a gun.
yeah.
Hey, and Gary, talk about ambush tactics here. Like
100%.
here we go right here. Ambush tactics are King in a home defense
We
situation.
need to just
What
get
we're-
somebody back there that can read.
Jackson doing it.
Yeah, Jackson.
Jackson,
reading.
take over.
Anyway, what we're talking about here is staying in the room that you're at, right? And controlling that doorway.
Yeah.
Right. So not leaving it. That's the ambush tactic. So they're coming to you and you're lying in wait if they do come past that like final protective line.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a perfect term right there, is that final protective line, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah. Don't forget to call 911, have them on there.
Summer, if you can, Summer, go on to, if you're still watching, go on to Rumble and post the link to the video on there, that self-defense, that home defense video.
John Jacks has a good question here.
Yep. What's he got? All right. So that brings me to another point where we talked about, I think you brought up somebody taking your gun from you.
Jay was saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. So sling, if you got a rifle, is an absolute must. And this goes back to why going clearing a home with a pistol, folks, and this is something we talk about in our advanced concealed carry courses. Folks, if you are coming around a corner or through a doorway and I am able to see, if you flag through, I can take that pistol from you so quick, which is another reason why why it's not the best option for a pistol. The other reasons while we're on that is, folks, I see what people do with a pistol without stress at 5 yards in our courses. And what you will do with a pistol completely under stress, completely target fixated, never even looking at your sights under the first time of having to use a gun in anger for self-defense. It's not pretty, right? So whether even a shotgun, I think, is a better option, just because it's easier to use under stress. It's easier to aim under stress. It is not easier to aim because buckshot spreads out, right? You know, we're looking at, again, I got a video on, I really need to redo that video because it's a good one. It was one of the first videos I ever did and put it on YouTube way back when, and I need to redo it and it'll be a lot better. But anyways, you know, at like 12 feet, a shotgun without any sort of choke, without a choke at all, is basically going to make a hole about that big. It's about an inch or so. So pretending that within CQB distances that you don't have to aim is the dumbest thing ever. There's lots of recoil. It's a low round count weapon. It's basically, if we're talking about a pump shotgun, it's a single action weapon. It's slow to fire, slow to transition, all of those things.
Yeah, I want to say the average like Mossberg type weapon, right? The tactical ones.
Yeah, short barrel.
If I remember correctly, yeah, it's about 3 inches per yard spread.
It's way less than that.
Yeah, it's somewhere around there.
We had this. I had just done that video, and some of the guys at FTU had actually watched that, and we got into this big thing. We're like, "Oh, we do this in the freaking Juice." I remember me and Juice were yelling.
Juicy.
Me and Juice, I believe it was Juice. We were having. I was like, "No, man, it's not," because what he stated almost the exact same stat you just. What'd you say?
It's about 3 inches per yard or something like that.
Yeah. So I was like, "Well, let's go test it," and we went and tested it at 5 yards. At 5 yards, it was less than 3 inches with the short barreled like breacher style shot. So
right. Well, it's also gonna depend on the type of shot you're using, right? If you're using like an LE buckshot,
or if you're using 7s, 8s, whatever.
Right. Yeah. It's gonna. There's a little bit of factors in there, but for like
minor. But what I'm just telling you, like,
yeah,
about 4 yards, expect about 2 inches tops. Absolutely most. So that's 4 yards. We're looking at, basically 12 feet, which is the length of most rooms. You're looking at 2 inches. Does it give you a little bit more fudge factor than a pistol or a rifle? Sure, but not really enough to matter.
2 inches matter scary.
Alex says, any plans to start a night vision class? Yes, Alex, we're actually in the middle of procuring night vision, becoming a night vision dealer. That is in the works, and that sounds cool. It's going to be cool. It's also going to be expensive. All right. So what we want to eventually do, hopefully by the end of the year or towards the fall or something, we'll have several sets of night vision. We already have the location set up. We're already talking to the dealers with them. We'll be able to have several sets of night vision where people can try those out. And then we can talk about the different types of night vision, different types of tubes, different types of, whether it's a monocular or binocular setup. Anyways, so the answer is yes. Also, going back to that, I don't think that necessarily a night vision setup is all that realistic or practical for home defense.
I don't like for you to hear someone come in your house, you're just like, holy smokes, right? And then you're getting your nods on, right?
So like you telling Alexa J that
everything
somebody's
like
coming in.
That's right.
Yeah,
I'll do it afterward just for the theater effect.
Yeah, depending on what kind of detection system that you got and how much early warning you have. I'd figure the average person, you got about 20 seconds, and that's if everything went right and you had the alarm on, but you got probably about 20 seconds to make sure that you're out of bed, you got everything on, you're ready to go. So whatever you can do in that 20 to 30 seconds. And again, that takes training. And more importantly, especially if you got kids on different floors and other rooms, how do you get them co-located with you? Are you training with them? Have you set up a home defense plan? All of those things. Do you have med gear on you? All those things. So, keep those in mind. And part of that reaction plan is making sure that we're alerting 911, local law enforcement. We need to make sure that we're doing that as well. So you got a lot going on in a very short amount of time. That's very stressful. So that's why I say it's so important to make sure, number one, that you're proficient with your weapons, more so than what most people think they are, because I promise you, if I put them in a home defense scenario that they knew was 100% training, I gave them 20 seconds to react to a threat, all these things, they would freaking fall apart. It's just the reality of it. Jeff Hahn says, do you guys run basically a low light night shoot? Yes, we do. All right. So I don't know which exactly. Kyle Lamb runs a couple different courses, but if we're talking about the use of a flashlight, we do that, and we are getting to the point where we're going to do no light courses with night vision, but we do rifle and pistol low light courses.
I want to circle back to the weapons.
Yep.
We're talking about SBRs.
Yep.
What caliber? Because you can get SBRs.
5.56.
5.56.
So
across the board.
So what I will say, 5.56, 223. The reason I say that is because I did a lot of testing on frangible ammo. I know what works for that. When we start getting into things like 300 black, and if we are going, first of all, I don't shoot 300 black. We got a guy on here that's probably over on the Rumble right now, so we're probably not even seeing his comments.
I just asked because I have an AR-9.
Yeah.
So it's
No,
in pistol form, so that's why I was asking.
That's actually a great one too. So getting an AR-9, I haven't done any extensive or really any terminal ballistic testing on gel. I have a gel dummy over there, ballistic
Just
gel,
sitting back there behind the computer.
100%. And then because I did extensive testing, what we call like so what I was simulating misses, right? Shooting, just seeing how many pieces of drywall a round would go through.
Yeah.
And 223, I found a good answer for that. I haven't done that with 9.
Yeah.
I think a 9mm AR is probably a really good home defense weapon.
Okay.
Again, what the caveat of that is, I would have to do some testing on the different frangible rounds that are available for that. That is the PCC would be a great. As far as 300 black, I haven't done a lot of testing on that. I'm not a guy that shoots 300 black. Having a training company, I've just always been too worried about.
They're expensive too.
Well, there's that, but having a training company, I'm just always concerned about a 300 black
And getting mixed up
with.
Absolutely.
So it's just, I keep 9mm 5.56,
Yep.
and then 7.62 and 6.5 Creed, all the long range stuff too.
CBI
6.5
Tank
Pierce.
makes a good point here.
Walking through tight quarters, hit that.
I did. What's up?
Walking through tight quarters with a depth perception disadvantage, nods creates, it absolutely does. Takes a lot of training. And that's one of the things that we're going to be implementing just for that reason. I don't know that it's enough to justify using nods for the average person that would come through our training to use them for CQB.
Yeah,
But
plus most people like really running nods. Like if you're looking
can't
at a
afford 'em.
tactical, yeah, right.
Well, there's that
That's
too.
the other thing, right?
First of all, Chris, you're rich.
Oh yeah.
So rich.
I'm sure the wife's gonna be popping up here.
But you're
every
going to be
time.
using like IR lasers with that too, you know? So like
Right.
that's a whole nother aspect on to use night vision, you know, things like that. So like it's all nice and to think about it, but it's really not practical in home defense
Yeah,
situation.
and it adds a whole nother layer of complication. Both when you're talking about suddenly your nods aren't working, suddenly you know your laser your laser aiming point isn't working. What all those things that the IR laser isn't working. So all those things,
Laser
you're just making it more complicated. But what I was talking about on our night vision course, one of the things that we're going to be doing on that 2-day course that we've designed the curriculum for is several movements at night and moving through the woods and through different terrain, open terrain, and doing a little navigation and some different terrain with those nods, because that really does, it helps you get used to, right? It helps you be conditioned to be able to use those nods effectively. And most people, they go to a course and all they do is a little bit of shooting, and usually kind of a CQB thing because it looks cool, it sounds cool, it feels
It
cool.
also
Absolutely.
gets you really good on your curse words when you're
does.
falling over in the bushes,
Tripping over
and
crap.
things are smacking you in your face.
does.
So that's fun.
It's funny I know we went through it, but funny to watch guys that have never like done any walking around with nods, and like you'll see them start trying to go up the stairs and they're like 3 feet from the stairs.
Yeah, did you ever
Like,
put like shoes on a dog and just watch them walk for the first time? That's kind of how
That's
kind of how it is. It's all high stepping.
One of the things we didn't address that you brought up, and I started down a path and got veered off, but was slings, right? So if you're gonna be running a long gun, you better have a sling on you, a 2-point sling, not a 1-point sling that gets you choked out and they're dumb. You need a 2-point sling, adjustable 2-point sling, so that gun cannot be taken from you, and that's whether you're talking about your tactical schmactical shotgun or an AR or a PCC or anything like that, and those are definitely better options than a pistol.
What are people in the comments? What do you guys have at your house? What are you guys using for that
What's
home
your
defense?
usual?
Throw up Alex Duke's comment.
Boom.
White light would be a better home defense. I absolutely believe that. So not only is night vision more complicated and not very practical, but I think there's a huge advantage if you know how to use a white light correctly. If you are not trained on how to use a flashlight on a gun mounted flashlight, folks, it is actually disadvantage. I promise you, it identifies where you are. If you don't know how to use that correctly, you need to get some training because it can be a major disadvantage.
Also, this is where me and Gary differ on this. I say there is
dumb.
too many lumens for your
I've
device.
tested this.
Gary,
I've tested this.
Gary's like 1,000,000.
I don't know.
lumens.
I'm
Yeah, ask him about your mirror story. I think you can say.
So
Right,
I'm
about lumens.
sure. Well,
So
first
many
of all,
lumens.
any light that you point at a freaking mirror.
What I want
It's
is
not
we
gonna
had,
be
to,
good.
we had to move that mirror.
So,
Oh my God, I'm blind.
yeah, no, I'm sure that there is a point where X amount of lumens is too much, where you can't. So if you guys saw this room that we're in on these, there's actually like this shiny insulation along these walls over here, and it's a very luminescent reflective surface, and I've put 1500 lumens on that, shine it right. But yeah, I mean, it's not, I'm not going to do it all the time, but it doesn't take me out of the fight in any way. I'd rather have more light than less light, especially if you have, you know, not necessarily CQB, but there are many I'll tell you this, I've had up to 1,000 lumen lights on my guns overseas, and there was never a time where I was like, I got too much light on this gun. There was multiple times where you get into an open area where you're trying to see as much as possible, where you don't have enough. I'm sure there is a point, but I don't think I know 1,500 isn't that point. Maybe it's 3,000 or 4,000, and trust me, I'm sure there are lights out there now that do 3,000 or 4,000.
I don't know, 1,000 for me. When I woke up out of a deep sleep, right, where my eyes were adjusted to the night, as soon as I hit that flashlight on, I was like, shoot it, right? I was like, oh my God, where'd everything go? Right, so
You can do stupid things with anything, anything,
Yeah.
and it becomes a disadvantage.
No, but
it could be a carpet in my basement, Jason. You can do stupid
Your
things with
weapon,
anything.
hold on, your weapon and equipment is only as effective as the
As
operator.
the user, yeah.
So,
absolutely.
I mean, this is the same argument where, you know, a weapon is dangerous can be used against you. That is true. You know, that is a valid argument. Now, a light can be used on yourself. You can blind the shit out of yourself.
well, I like, you know, I was thinking about it. I said, man, the difference there is being like, you know, when you're out on a mission, right? You're doing stuff, you're awake, your eyes are adjusting to and from light, you know, but waking up out of a deep sleep, the first time I hit that 1,000 lumens, I was like,
Well, Jay, if you shined that 1,000 lumen light into a mirror and it hits your eyeball.
Granted, that wasn't fun.
Hold on. But if it was 600
It doesn't
lumens,
matter if
would
it's
it have made a
100.
difference?
It would have been 100. It could have been a candle.
I don't know,
if you
Gary,
waking up.
my eyes would have been 400 lumens better.
This is a person that blames his problems on his equipment.
Every time.
Oh my God. I shot myself because this holster, I was rocking a Serpa holster. It made me shoot myself in the leg because
exactly
I'm a
like
freaking
Jay.
idiot. All right. So Jeff, sorry.
Jeff certainly got a
handheld
good-
versus mounted light, a Viz muzzling your target. So without a doubt, gun mounted light is better 1,000 different ways.
100%.
You don't have to look for it.
You don't have to look for it.
It's there.
You don't
got
have
two
to.
hands on your
you got
gun.
2 hands on the gun. If you come to a door that you got to open, or you got to go hands on with a threat, it just gives you a lot more options. So definitely a gun mounted light is going to be easier and less stressful every time. What else? we got?
100% way to go.
Somebody put on there what their home Richie did. He put
Yeah,
what
so we got
Richie Futrell.
SBR 5.56 suppressed. That's pretty
There you go.
nice.
Yep, 12.5 inch.
Yep. Aim
I
point.
saw somebody up there in the comments before put a suppressor adds length to the gun you're using. Well,
does.
then that's when you just build a shorter barrel one.
Also, we
legit
had
pistol.
a couple
I
people
don't-
claim they've lost all their equipment. Nice.
I don't think a suppressor one way or another gives you necessarily an advantage or disadvantage when it comes to what does give you an advantage or disadvantage, just like somebody brought up, was the fact that length, right? So again, you know, I probably got the equivalent. That's a 6-inch barrel that I have tuned. I have a gas system on there that I've tuned to that with a suppressor. It runs fine with or without. The can on there,
Silencer.
An 8-inch can on it.
so you know, it is what it is, and it looks cool. Makes me feel cool. That's all that really matters,
we got
right?
setters
Let's be
in.
real. That's what really matters.
Oh yeah, tactical.
All right, 5.56 pistol with weapon mounted light, thermal vaporizing, absolutely.
Yes.
Sounds expensive.
I'm
Yeah.
using a 16-inch BCM primary arms, 1-10 Streamlight Protect. Love it.
Well,
Yeah.
mine was a Glock 19X with an XC1 light on it, so that's going to now change.
And it'll still be tomorrow.
Maybe
Maybe tonight.
I need to, I need to kit out my AR9 now. I got to put a big old light on 1,000 lumens.
Well, that brings up a good point too. I have mixed feelings with a red dot on a pistol in low light environments, because you run into two situations. Either you're in complete darkness and your reticle is, if you have it on auto, for instance, now you got no reticle whatsoever. Depending on, and then if I'm shining my light, now my reticle is still sensing that I'm in the dark, right? And so it's still dim, and I probably won't even be able to see it once I have my light on. The light's going to wash it all out. So there's that problem. Or we can set that reticle and just do it manual. This is one thing I'm definitely finding out with the red dot. So now I have it to a certain brightness that as soon as I turn when I'm not using my light, it's too bright.
Okay.
And then when I turn my light on, again, now I can see it.
Within reason.
I either have it too bright or too dim.
Yeah.
At some point, right now they need to get all that I found on the auto brightness settings. They're not addressing low light operations with the use of a light, because that is a serious issue when it comes to using, which again is why you have backup sights. So you got to make sure that you're using backup sights.
That's a
on
good
that
point. I wonder if the different color
only make
dots.
good points.
Well,
No, so I mean, I've used both red and green.
you did both red and green, huh?
Yeah, neither both have that problem.
I haven't tested.
They
I
both-
haven't
they
tested
both
out
get
with the
washed
different.
out.
You don't even have a
Flashlight.
gun, Jay. Let's be real. You don't even have a real gun.
You got 30 out six.
You got a 30-06.
Yeah.
It's his wife's grandpa's
You're right.
30-06.
It's in a bag. He said.
That's his bona fides as a gun owner.
A 30 out
Hey,
six.
I know you're jelly.
I am jelly.
There's another one. Light laser.
Yeah,
combo.
John. So that's one of the instances I think that a light laser combo does make sense.
More of a
there are some
heavy
things-
Italian combo kind of guy.
There are some things that you
Heavy's
can do in low light with a visible laser that makes sense. Again, you don't necessarily have to be right behind the gun in certain situations. You can, be under a bed, shining, at a weird angle, and still be able to see what you're aiming at. So there's some advantages to having a visible laser on your gun. Comp or flash hider is all going to suck balls in a house. So with that being said, that is true. It is going to suck balls. But what makes a huge difference on that, guys, is a linear comp. So having a linear comp.
Okay, what's a linear comp for everybody?
So
It's not a vertical comp.
hold on, let me grab one.
yeah.
Show you. Talk, Chris. You entertain him.
Oh, it's all right. I like Jeff Hahn. Jason's running black powder.
Running black
He wouldn't know how
powder.
to load that
It's
thing.
an antique.
It would take him too long. Jason's too impatient.
Could you imagine becoming a Minuteman?
Oh my God!
Don't you
You'd end
come
up-
in that
you'd
door.
be firing that with a ramrod and everything. You just
So-
impale him with it like a crossbow. I mean,
Fix bayonets.
you get the job done. No, but sometimes that story still kills me about you waking up when what was it? A suction cup basket fell out of the shower.
That's. Oh yeah, that was a good. Yeah, that was the.
Someone's in here.
No, that was the night the light.
Yeah,
I blinded
that's
myself.
When he flashed
I was like, so
himself.
many lumens.
I'm
Yeah.
just
so many
glad he didn't
lumens.
shoot himself. All right, so here's a good example of a linear comp. This is a PWS. These look cool too. But basically, what we have is we basically have no ports and everything's just going forward, right? So the Noveske Warthog was one that I used on a CQB gun in Iraq and Afghanistan. I ran with that. It was a 6-inch upper, Olympic Arms, as a matter of fact. I still got that somewhere around here.
Of course, it's everything forward.
but everything's
compared
going
to the
forward,
typical
so with-
A2s that
100%.
give you that star.
And when
pattern
you
and
have
such
you have a short barrel,
Mhm.
man, the percussion inside a house is ridiculous.
Oh, it does suck.
Yeah.
Except for when you put a linear comp on those, it makes a huge
like. You
difference.
have those?
Yeah.
Okay.
So a linear comp will definitely make that manageable inside a close quarter situation.
Did not know that. I knew it was going to suck inside, but
Jason sponsor is exactly right with Jason. It would Jack Sparrow.
That's 100%. That's how I've survived my whole life.
That's exactly
Jason.
how he runs too, just like Jack Sparrow.
Yeah. When shit hits the fan, I know. First of all, first person that's going to show up at my house is Jason with his Pappy's 30-06.
30-06.
Gary, can I come on in? Come on in. We got you, buddy.
Just remember the day that you almost defeated Jason Batista.
Just shy a little like 2 Gun. Chris Everett runs at Thermont. Event Outdoor Smokeless Powder isn't. No. Even outdoor smokes. No, it's not. So especially you get indoors, you start running low light, man. It's crazy how much of that smoke you see. And then when you're running the light, it's just like shining a light in fog. You get 2 or 3 people shooting, or even one person shooting several rounds. Next thing you know, you're indoors and it looks like you're in a fog room, especially when you're running a light. And it's just like, again, it's just like shining your lights on high beams in a fog covered road. It's crazy how much you see of that. It's crazy how much kind of splashback you do get from that. What else? Again, folks, the other thing that is not usually addressed with home defense is, again, folks, you gotta have med gear, right? We just had a great med course this past weekend. You know, the chances of you or somebody else getting injured is, you know, just skyrockets dramatically, right? Anytime you're dealing with close quarters, you know, someone that's, you know, you don't have a full entry team with you, it's just you and your family and a bad guy, the chances of you getting shot are pretty high. So just realize that and make sure that, because you can win a firefight and still die, and that doesn't count as a win.
There was a firefight.
Or again, you start having a criminal start shooting. He hears you or hears something or hears one of your kids making noise, your wife makes noise or whatever else, and they start shooting through walls.
Yeah.
Folks, you just never know what's going to happen with that. Or they have a knife, and, you know, or you can look at a situation like we just had with Pelosi, right? You saw, what's Pelosi's husband's name?
Hammer
Pelosi.
Yeah.
You know, where you have you're trying to control the situation where you have a fairly non-combatant. Of course, he handled that completely wrong. But
you mean you can't talk down a complete psychotic breaking into your house?
you may not. And you might want to put your drink down and hold that hammer with both hands.
I mean,
but even the cops took it, you know, even the cops that showed up at the door, man, it looked like this situation that wasn't very dramatic, right? It wasn't a very confrontational situation. It's easy to take, because the last thing, I'm telling you right now, and I know there's a lot of tough guys out there, they're like, oh, somebody comes to my house, it's a, you know, castle law, I'm going to smoke them. Well, you know, you probably, if you can avoid that, number one, you probably should. But number two, you can easily get in a situation where you may try to handle the situation in a different manner other than use of force. And things can turn, and that's just one of many thousands of examples I could talk about or come up with off the top of my head where, you know, a trauma kit could be very important. And the other thing, quite frankly, folks, is if I smoke a guy, empty a mag into a dude, because if they come into my house and they're threatening us and I determine there's use of force, they're getting the whole mag. If that happens, the other thing, that when the cops show up, they're going to have 5 chest seals on that dude. We're going to have tourniquets on that dude. Like, I did everything I could to save this guy's life, right? So
Just little sticky pads
and
everywhere.
I genuinely will try to save his life, in case this is referenced later, but I genuinely will try to save his life. I don't want to have, you know.
Segue into what TBI Tank's asking.
Yeah.
What you recommend is base level equipment that should be contained in your first kit.
Tourniquet.
So you got to have at least 2 tourniquets, I would say. A base. Yeah. So let's tear my kit apart that I have for.
Tear your
Just
kit
to
apart.
Show a little bit of example.
Jackson,
everybody,
you're
what
fine.
We can do.
All right, YouTube. This is not a gun or anything else, for God's sakes.
There's a
All right,
holster,
so
empty holster.
this is my trauma kit, and
Nothing.
we sell the actual cover here of this case is a high-speed gear trauma kit, right? And this is just the one that I have on my kit. And I would say this is like the minimum thing that you need. I would have something more robust. I have 2 other kits upstairs. We have one in every single one of our cars. I have a large one for the range. But these trauma kits is an HSGI. My wife would know the actual pouch.
She's the one that
they're
knows
on our
everything.
website.
So
She does know everything.
Yeah.
But again, we have a Sam XT tourniquet up here, which I'm a big fan of Sam XT tourniquets. I think they're a much better answer than the cat tourniquet and many other tourniquets out there. They address some of their weaknesses. I got a video on that. You can go check that out. But so we got a tourniquet. I happen to carry a needle D. You probably are not, if you don't know how to use that, don't. But
D stands for decompress. You're welcome.
There's people out there thinking,
yeah.
Needle D.
Anyways, so we have a pressure bandage. This is also a battle wrap. This is what I'm carrying at a minimum. My everyday carry. It's you can use this as basically a tourniquet. You could use it as a chest seals. They're they're an occlusive dressing, but on top of that, they're a great pressure bandage as well. You can use them for many different things, and they're easy to carry. Also, I have a Celox. We have a hemostatic gauze in there so that we can pack wounds if we need to. We have a space blanket to make sure that we're preventing hypothermia. If you guys don't know, any sort of trauma, you will become, if you start losing blood, even in 120-degree weather, you could become hypothermic very quickly. Hypothermia with trauma, it has 100% mortality rate. We have the Fox Seal, 2 chest seals inside of this. And then I have a NPA, and then I have some nitrile gloves, and then a casualty care card.
What's the MPA? What's that stand for?
Nasopharyngeal airway. So
It goes up your nose.
it's a nose hose, also known
Nose
as a
hose,
nose hose.
yes.
We're gonna try it
Make
on
sure
you.
you lick it first.
You do have to lick
Spit on it.
it. So that's what I would say at a minimum. Oh, and I also have a duct tape board in here. And by the way, we do sell these kits.
You can fix anything with duct
These
tape.
this is the Reflex kit, by the way. Reflex kit, and then I have a Sharpie up there. So we do sell these kits, and we pack these out. Again, you can buy these things individually on our website, or again, we do custom kits, things like this. Do large kits that come in either like a Pelican case, different sizes. They're all on our website. Go check that out. But more importantly, you also need training with this stuff. Don't just buy the gear and not the training. So hopefully that answered your question. Who answered that question? Who asked that question?
TBI Tank asked that
TBI
question.
tank.
TBI Tank.
Yeah. Good question. We got another one here. Pat G.
Pat G. Hey, Gary, have you had an opportunity to check out the Snake Staff ETQ? I'm assuming that's some sort of tourniquet. I have not.
We're gonna have to check that out.
We'll have to check that out. Pat, post a link. I'll check that out. We do a lot of testing on tourniquets. Yeah, so there's, again, I got a couple of videos on there, the ones that I recommend and why. And we talk about that in depth in our courses as well.
No, that was interesting in your kit. I don't have a tourniquet in my house, so
You need
everybody
one.
should have a tourniquet at their house.
And folks, just so you
A
know,
belt's not
a
gonna
belt
work.
is not a tourniquet. The worst tourniquet
It
you
is
can use
not.
is a belt.
Yeah. Especially tourniquets that fit on kids too.
Yeah, and
That's
that's
a good
a
idea.
whole
Yeah.
other thing.
Yeah. That's
That's also why I like that battle wrap as well as the rapid tourniquet. A couple of those things, both of those can be used on infants, pediatrics, as well as animals. Both of those can be used as tourniquets on those. So
So is that battle wrap just essentially it looked like clear, stretchy tape?
So basically, think of it as a really heavy duty saran wrap.
Okay, that's weird. Okay.
Yeah. So it sticks to itself, but you can really.
You could stretch and get some pressure
Yeah,
on something.
yeah,
I got
yeah.
you. Oh, cool stuff.
And again, you can check out the video on that I have on that, but I need to do another one on that.
Oh, cool.
Even your trained things can go sideways. Be prepared to have them. Absolutely. Under stress, you or your loved one or somebody else may shoot themselves.
Yeah.
Key is don't
Oh,
invite. That's true.
Yeah.
Don't invite your gay lover over to do drugs. Now, Jeff, I will say that I don't know. That was my first thing with Paul Pelosi, right? Paul Pelosi. When I first heard the narrative, I will say after watching the video, I just think that was a crazy guy that broke into his house. So, I'm not going to be completely politically biased. I'm going to give him a pass on that one. I'm not saying he doesn't have a gay lover that wouldn't hit him with a hammer, but I don't think that was the case with that guy. What else we got?
So far, that's it.
That's it.
Sweet.
What have we got to
We all
everything?
caught up.
Weapons, lights. We just went over medical supplies and, like you said, training.
training and planning, right?
Yeah.
Folks, with a good home defense plan, you got to have training, you got to have plan. You got to have, especially if you got kids in the house, you got to have fast access weapon stores. One of the things I talk about in the video is, you know, a weapon that you can't get to is just as dangerous as an unsecured weapon. So it's a matter of finding that balance, right? And a fast access but secure, so that your kids or unauthorized personnel can't get to your weapons.
Gary, do you recommend ones with keys?
Typically not.
Yeah, that would be. I would say the same thing, right?
Well,
That
you gotta
number
find that
one,
key.
you got to find the key first,
Yeah.
right? Then
Remember
you got to
where
put
you
that
put it?
little key into the little hole while you're like
under stress.
Oh, gosh.
So
You got to be quicker than that.
So I'm getting ready to do some additional videos on safes. I'm a big fan of the secured agile safes. You know, they're not for everybody. They're not, you know, if you're looking for some big, heavy, they're designed to be fast access and modular and really organized, right? So you're keeping your weapons stored, basically ready to go, which is why I'm a big fan of that. So again, I got a video on that, but we got some of their other safes coming and some of their other cages coming that we're going to be doing some reviews on.
And that's keypad entry. Get in there, right?
What's that? Yeah, it's keypad, and it does have a backup. There's a hidden spot where you can actually access it with a key. So if for some reason you do lose your combo, or
Is it under the frock?
it's under the frock. It's always in the frock.
It's in the frock.
What the frock?
And Jeff says it very well up here. Jeff Hahn, he talks about gross motor skills, folks. Until you've done some training under stress and you realize how quickly you can become incompetent, straight up incompetent, physically and mentally incompetent under stress.
Yeah, where your skills are gross.
Like when you're trying to clean your wife's around.
That's right.
I'm
Yeah.
grossly incompetent.
You know, so you got to get the courses that put you under a little stress, to show you, you know, again, one of the things that we do in our handgun courses and our carbine courses is at the end of our level 2 courses, we put you in a scenario based training that you don't get to see. So we throw you in this event where you got to make good tactical decisions, shoot, no shoot. And folks, it is crazy. I won't say it's crazy. It's predictable, because these are people that have never done that type of thing before. So, but what I will say is they are shocked at how quickly they fall apart. They never thought they would, right? And that is not even it's not even a real thing, right? It's completely just training. So again, make sure you guys are getting training. Make sure you expose yourself to those stressful situations, because it's one thing to be able to shoot a gun. It's a whole another thing to be able to shoot a gun, be able to think, make good decisions under stress.
Well, just, I mean,
It's
if you want to
completely
do
different
something
situation.
easy to do something under stress, is do 25 burpees and then try to shoot your pistol at 7 yards.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, that's the absolute basis of shooting under stress.
Yeah.
Just having your heart rate sky high, your arms are tired from burpees, and try to see how many times you can hit it.
Yeah, you know, and
It'll surprise you.
Yeah,
It-
or
it
when
is
your wife
true.
asks you where you want to eat.
Yeah.
Right. That's stressful.
so I agree with you. That is a very kind of
You can do that at
small
home.
dose. That's
Yeah.
a small dose of things.
Mhm.
But folks, I'm telling you, even then, you're not having to make decisions. And under stress,
That's
when
good
you're having
support.
to, when you're normally shooting, 99% of your mental faculties are dedicated to, you know, body position, side alignment, side picture, breath control, trick, squeeze, and follow through, right? All we're doing is doing that. But when you are in a threat situation, 99% of your faculties are now directed toward making decisions. What do I need to do? What's happening? Figuring out what's going on, all of this stuff. And then you get 1%, definitely less than 10% of your brain power that's even allowed to be dedicated to squeezing that trigger and operating that gun safely. And so while that's not bad, when people do some stress induced,
Yeah.
basically some exercise induced stress, right? It doesn't even come close, but it's
Right.
definitely better than nothing. There's definitely better than nothing. And I see, because here's the little bit of heartache that I have with that is I see a lot of companies that do training where they do that. They do a bunch of physical activities and then they have you do the thing that you were just doing.
Oh.
And that doesn't do anything.
Right.
You know, I would rather you for the first time seeing a scenario, having to make good decisions without doing all the exercises than vice versa, right? That is a better snapshot of where you are in your decision making abilities and tactical decision making abilities in gun manipulation and gun handling than necessarily just doing a few burpees.
Just think about force on force training. That's probably some of the best
100%.
realistic training you can get.
100%.
Right. Is force on force, we're using simunition guns versus each other. Right. I mean, really, I'm not saying like
you have to
this
use
is
cover,
paintball, right? But like, even going out to a paintball match, is a form of force on force.
No, it's definitely you're incrementally getting better at making decisions while you're being shot at. Essentially, you definitely. I see those guys doing shooting paintball.
Yeah,
man, those guys are masters at using cover.
And they are.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I can tell you, most people that are shooting guns and do a lot of training, the first time they were in a gunfight, they would get shot because they do not use cover whatsoever.
Airsoft same way. Watch some of those airsoft guys. I mean, they're insane at using the cover.
100%.
I mean,
100%.
Yep.
All that stuff has good training practicality. There's no doubt about it. What else? Simunitions are good. Again, our CQB courses, all this year, we will have simunitions in
training.
every single course. We have a great CQB facility now that we can use. So again, go check out our courses. Come train with us. You'll be glad you did. And, you'll have a good time and you'll learn some real skills. And that's the difference.
Plus, I'll be there to make things better for you guys.
Usually Jay will be there. I hope he is every time.
about better.
Regardless of what you get here, Jay is one of the best instructors that you'll ever meet, and that's the truth. Once you get him out there and you actually get him serious a little bit,
and he's pretty cool.
He's okay.
I might.
He'll definitely look up to you, everyone.
He does look up to everyone. It is nice to be looked up to.
I know. So I'll hang around him.
I didn't have to crawl in sniper school. I just walked.
That's right.
The vegetation was my size.
What is that thing shooting at me underneath that mushroom?
Yes.
Is that Mario?
Is that a man?
Man child. Little miniature man child. All right. Any other questions about home defense? We kind of.
This is good. I like this.
No, it was good. It was a good one.
All right, folks.
Honey, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Somebody shrunk Jay and he didn't know. All right, folks. Well, we are not going to belabor the point. That is for sure. A big part of home defense, a remote surveillance system, but wired in, not wireless. Yeah, that is a good point too, Jersey, is that the fact that I don't know. I know a lot of the systems now that are wireless are better when it comes to security. I also do know that they're pretty vulnerable. I just don't know how vulnerable. And again, I think the reality is that all those can be hacked, but also realistically speaking and practically speaking, is a person that's breaking into your home going to be hacking? I don't know the answer to that or what I don't think there's too many sophisticated.
I don't think they'd be running up to try to do that.
Yeah.
It's definitely way down the totem pole as far as possible threats. And
what's that hacking group?
The Blue Man Group?
No.
Anon?
Yeah, anonymous, right?
Anonymous, yeah.
Break into our house.
I hate when the Blue Bag Group breaks in your house. They're like,
that'd be scary, dude. Imagine just a bunch of blue faces with running at you with neon drums blasting.
Like a bad dream.
I would
playing
scream.
music on PVC pipes.
That would.
I don't know. Jade probably sit down Indian style, listen to it. Oh, thanks, guys.
That's also called a battle rap.
Going back real quick, I do want to make one last point, is that when you're talking about your home defense plan, especially if you're a single family household, a standard house construction, definitely think about those concentric rings of security, right? Mm-hmm. So from outside to inside, and as many of those things that you can overlap one another, as many of those that you can put in place, again, realistically, with some of the technology and different security equipment that is available to you, those are other things that you need to think about, those concentric rings. So that's going to give you, again, more deterrence, more mitigation, easier detection, more time for reaction, all of those things. So it's fun to talk about all these things when it comes to what guns should we use night vision, should we use weapon mounted lights, hand lights, all this stuff. The point is if we focus on the mitigation, deterrence, detection, chances are we're never going to have to get to that reaction part. So
Be a hard target, folks.
be a hard target.
Mhm.
Make sure that you're doing some due diligence and don't just always rely on, your ability to shoot a gun.
That's right. And throw your expensive TV equipment in your neighbor's yard.
That's right. And their trash.
In their
Any
trash.
expensive trash, put it in their
Burn
trash
it
can.
or neighbors.
Right out in
That's
front of them.
right. It comes from Hobby Lobby.
All right, folks, listen, we always appreciate you showing up and engaging with this. Is always fun. It's getting better and better, and we appreciate again all the support that you guys give us. Hey, show them your Commander Cup.
Oh, look at this thing.
Oh, look at this thing. So again, we have on Patreon, we have our training plan, we have different support packages. This is if you are doing $50 a month, which Chris is. And you get one of these Commander Cups, you get a hoodie, you get a shirt, you get a hat, and you get our appreciation, and we appreciate the support. There's other benefits in there too. When you're ordering from us, we try to make sure that we take care of you as far as a discount is available to you. And again, all the clients out there know we try to take care of you the best that we possibly can, and we appreciate you guys always taking care of us. Speaking of which, Brent just shot, just him and his son came down the other day, picked up a sweet piece of kit, sent me some pictures today. Brent, we appreciate that, and it was great to meet you and your son. Anyways, folks, we are going to call it a night, but listen, we appreciate you. We thank you for showing up. We appreciate the support, and until next time, stay armed, stay ready, and we'll talk to you soon. You got to hit it. Jesus.